Welcome to the show. Thank you. Welcome to the show. You know, this is the first time ever doing a show from outside of baseball game. First time I did it was actually basically the first time I did it outside was for graduation 2020, then the big freeze. Then the first time I did it was outside the beginning of the playoff thing for football, then soccer games, and now here. Biggest moment ever in 5 years. So let's get started. What we start with is with COVID. So as the cases rise, state of Texas 6.5 million plus 3K. Deaths 85,010 plus 95. New Oasis County 91.18 plus 236. The deaths are 1449. Um, 53,000 positive tests. 9257 people in hospitalization. 20.6 people had one dose. 70.1. 70.4 million had at least one dose, and fully vaccinated people are at 60.1%. As for schools, well, yesterday we were at zeros, and then today we're at 1. We were at 1 today, so that's basically some great news for the Flower Bluff School District. So, greatest thing ever for Flower Bluff. So, keep on the great work and fighting this thing. So, as we approach this, a lot of people are questioning the vaccine. Like, what is this? A lot of parents question the vaccine for their child. It's like, what is this going to do for me? What's it going to do for my child? Will my child get COVID from the vaccine? Absolutely not. It's to protect you from COVID. It's those diseases it's your body. Your body is fighting off the causes of COVID-19, the side effects. And just today, where I work, they now released they unreleased the mask mandate. They lifted the mask mandate, but it's still optional. But let me tell you something. I still have to carry this around with me every time. There ain't no excuse about it. If you're already fully vaccinated, you're in the option zone. So just remember this: if you're in the unvaccinated zone, you are in the mandatory zone. If you're fully vaccinated, what that means is you're in the optionary zone. Since I'm already vaccinated, I should be in this zone. However, for those people who are unvaccinated, you gotta be in this zone here. So, has something to look forward to. But if you're concerned about the side effects, what you need to do is do some research. Talk with your doctor and ask them, what are the side effects of this vaccine? After the first dose, probably none. But if you get the second dose, what you probably will experience is like light feverish. So if that happens to you, just take like a Tylenol or acetaminophen. Tylenol or a leaf. That really helps. It helped out me when I got my second dose, and I felt better. And to this day, I still feel better. So, great news. So, a lot of schools are preparing for this, and they're having a lot of steps. So, kudos to the schools for trying to fight this thing. And so am I, because let me tell you something. I got vaccinated twice, and I'm still feeling okay, which is some very great news. And when I hear people say it's against my religion or I got a medical issue, if it's a medical issue, it's okay, but if it's against your religion, that's a load of crap. So, seeing it's against religion is a load of crap. It's to protect you. A lot of companies may understand, but there's no link between autism and COVID, which is some very exciting news to share. Very exciting news. But as we continue to approach this, we see the light at the end of the tunnel. Again, like I said, this COVID roller coaster is going up, it's going down, it's going all the way around until this COVID roller coaster stops, or until everybody gets vaccinated. So once that happens, maybe we could see a pattern going on. But as for today's pattern last month's cases, there were over 28, which is a good number. Back in January or so whatever, they were at the triple digits. So that means we're at the breaking. We got a problem here. To solve this problem, just follow these tips like I'm telling you the past few years. Make sure you're vaccinated. If you're quarantined, you need to make sure you stay in your place. You need to make sure that you're staying at home. Go outside, you need to go get the mail, or you need to go get the mail and take out the trash. Only time to do that. The quarantine issue. You need to stay at home for 5 days. After the 5th day, get tested. If you're testing negative, you gotta stay another 5 days until you get vaccinated. But masks, big issue here. At the bridge of the nose, not down here and down here. Social distance between these two here, 6 feet, perfect. Wash your hands, sanitize your hands, soap, water, big issues here. Also, if you're running transportation, like Lyft, Uber, Subways, you need to follow those steps. Masks, very important. Also, if you're under 2, no mask. Medical condition, let's let them know. If you get vaccinated, just let them know. You gotta have a card with you. If you lose your card, you need to let them know you lost your card. If you lost your card and you can't find it, then you can go ask the person where you got your card to go get back to where you got vaccinated from. And just ask them, basically can tell you. So that's COVID. That's the COVID wrap up. Okay, we got it, but okay, when we come back, the biggest issue ever, it's Texas Public Schools Week. This time it's all about the money and the question of where the money is coming from. We're going to answer that question where the money is coming from and tell you about a city that spent a lot of money but failed to meet the educational requirements. We're going to hear both sides of the story. And then later, as American as, a lot of baseball topics that you at home want to see. Don't go away. Hi, I'm Jonathan Carmen. We're outside the softball game. It's the first time in 5 years since I reported. First time in 5 years since I reported for softball. I reported from outside. But this is basically one of the biggest ever in history. But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about what's stupid in America. It's a nasty title. It's a very nasty title, but as Texas Public School Week approaches, it's about time we face up to what issues are going on with teachers and all that stuff. But we're going to focus on a couple. First off, I want to focus on the money. The biggest problem ever facing public schools is the money. Everyone says it. It's a lack of money. But if you were to go to every state, they would tell you that teachers need much more money than usual. But try to ask how much money would be right in some schools, and you would probably discover that, and what you would probably discover is that the fact of they need a lot more money, like $10,000 per kid. Like they would spend a lot of money, like $10,000 per student, like more money. The more the better. I was thinking like years ago, like more must be spent. Like in Kansas City, they built like swimming pools, state-of-the-art gyms, computer labs. But there was all that spending from taxis to swimming pools. It got worse. 2000, they failed to meet the education requirements for it. I mean, it was probably all for the kids. But if money weren't the solution, it would probably be the worst solution ever. It's like adjusted for inflation. It's like this. The graph of increased spending years ago would be like this. The line would go straight up to the pupil. Graduation rates, flat. Student achievement go flat. That extra money is not helping the kids. But how can that be? More money, but no results? It's a lot of money. Think about it. $10,000 per student. So fast for 25, that would be $250,000 per year. Where does the money go? It's certainly not for these kids. I mean, people spend a lot of money to build years ago to spend money on a big building, not for the kids, it's for administrators. It's probably insane because the schools give a lot of money and everybody has been conned. When people all say it's the answer, it's like, we just need a little more money. Think of the case back in 2016. If you were in Lee Summit schools, you may have heard about this story. If you haven't heard about the story, let me tell you. It's the story about a Lee Summit superintendent who almost got $400,000 a raise. There were 3 people in the story. This superintendent had a relationship with the attorney from the school, and what else that happened was Terry Harmon, the used to be former president of that board, said she stepped down after showing support of this. So it was the biggest issue. But years ago, but during that time, he got placed on administrative leave, and he resigned. And at that time, a new superintendent was involved with a lot of issues there. I'm not gonna get into that, but if it was a class of 25, it'd be $250,000 per year. But again, where's the money go? Not helping out the kids, helping out the bureaucrats and whatnot. So it's a great thing to end it on. But I hope so. How much success can there be in a monopoly? A monopoly in someone else's town could just fire a teacher who sent sexual emails to a 16-year-old student. That report when we return. Don't go away. Welcome back. Tonight we're talking about stupid in America. How we cheat our kids. And we're not saying the kids are stupid. We're saying something about the system that's stupid.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
So, we focused on the money. Let's focus on the teachers being fired. It's like this. Just today, as I was driving home from work, not driving home, I rode a bus home. So let's get that. As I rode home from work, I saw a video about a teacher who slapped a student. I mean, she just slapped a student. I bet she was trying to get the teacher's attention. It's like, hey, can I speak to you a second? Hey, can I speak to you a second? Unlike those other ladies, like last week I told you about some sports fights, like those high fight thing, a softball player slapped another softball player slapped another person because of, I don't even know, it's unsportsmanlike conduct. So that's another video for another day. But if you were to look at all those steps, I mean, we don't need any of those rubberized rooms. Not even made of rubber, but what we don't even need a rubberized room. Even if we were to have a rubberized room, it would be disastrous because you're sitting there in that rubber room like reading magazines, doing whatever you want. You sit there and wait for hours and waste money. That's how these rubber rooms are. We need to get rid of those rubber rooms immediately. You get paid on administrative leave, you pay on administrative leave. If you leave on administrative, if you get sent home on administrative leave, you get sent home on administrative leave. You don't go to a rubberized room. No. If you're fired, you're fired. If you're suspended, you are suspended. You don't go to a freaking rubberized room. You sit at home and not get paid. We need to get rid of that suspension or get paid that administrative leave for teachers. But I get the feeling this isn't going to happen anytime soon. So all we got here is just basically food for thought here. Get to that in a minute. But I don't support teachers going on rubberized rooms. Unacceptable behavior from every school district. So, not a light note to end on. It's just basically what needs to happen here is that teachers need to learn a lesson. We don't put them in rubberized rooms, not even made of rubber. If you were to look in there and see a rubberized room, it wouldn't even be made of rubber. Teachers would sit there and even waste your money. It's sweet. ridiculous. It's very ridiculous. And even ultimately, folks from the union who want to say this all the time, and I'm going to whisper it right now, they don't really care about kids. Those who criticize the monopoly don't care about kids? Nonsense! And when we come back, we'll show you what Flower Bluff Schools has done to support special needs kids. Don't go away. So, if you're just joining us, we're talking about how public schools ruin our kids. If you were to go to those charter schools, they spend a lot of money. But when public schools began in America, a lot of people worked on farms. That's why there's no school in summer, so kids could stay home and work on the crops. That's how it was back then. Now, if you're staying home in the summer, you have to help out the parents or get yourself a job that you have the whole summer to yourself. Now you're in school, and then all of a sudden, a lot of this happens. Like, just yesterday, there was a new program for the special needs. Ready, Set, Go. Not like the original program I went to. When I was there, all I did was sweep, mop, wipe down tables in the cafeteria. That's how it was for me. I turned out great and learned a lot of those skills. So, a lot of things still need to happen here. A lot of issues going on. That's why we need competition. Competition makes everything better. You know why? Because competition is why we have softball. We have baseball. We have all types of sports in different districts. We have competition. We've got Chevrolet. We've got Toyota. We've got Ford. We've got General Motors. This is why schools need to compete with charter schools. And if I were to bring it out up to the school district, they'd be like, have you lost your mind? We haven't tested this thing. Well, of course you haven't tested this thing because you don't even know how much it would cost. So that's basically another food for thought here. So that's why a lot of schools spend a lot of our money, because it's not going to the kids. It's going to, a lot of these schools don't even understand what this money's for. I mean, if it was attached to the kids, they would choose. They would choose to go to a better school. So if you are a parent with money, this is the thing here. What you would do. Here's the thing here. You pay for a private school, or buy into a neighborhood like this that has a better public school. I'm not slamming Flower Bluff. They're doing a great job, but what if I were to tell you guys? What if I told you that Flower Bluff spends over $8,000 per pupil? $8,000. That line would probably be all the way up. UCISD would probably raise that line all the way up. So we've got, that's part of our education just gone amok. Especially our tax dollars. It's like, you criticize union teachers, they come to your doorstep saying, shame on you. That's how it was. They come, if you criticize the school, if you criticize the union or the monopoly or whatever, they come over and criticize you. That's why I took all these steps in New York to fire an incompetent teacher. Charter schools, they just have to fire after one day. They don't do well, then see you later, Charlie. That's how it was that's how it is for charter schools. Probably still is. You had to there was a waiting line for this. I never went to charter school. I went to public school. By 4th grade, I was all caught up. But by high school, I probably failed, but risen up to that occasion. Because schools spend a lot of money, doesn't go to us, and yet we're suffering here. Because again, there is no competition. There's no competition like Toyota, Chevrolet, Jeep, Ford. There's no competition. If there was competition makes everything good. Competition makes everything better. We have a lot of fast food restaurants. Competition makes everything great. And it makes everything good. That's why we have cars. And even if you were to do an example, it'd be like mixing oil and water in a car. That's the way it would be. Probably a great note to end on. So, probably a great note to end on. So, let's take a break. Take a break. When we come back, As American As. You may be surprised by As American As for baseball right after this. Don't go away. Whether you call them Franks, dogs, whether you call them Franks or dogs, probably figure out the best way to cook them is probably the best way to eat them. So, let's take a trip to Chicago now. The Chicago style dog. I remember this one. You got to bear with me here. So, you got the French fries, you got the tomatoes, you got the relish, you got the ketchup. There's no ketchup in Chicago. Tomatoes. You got the dog. So, it's the bun, a stale bun, 3 days old. And then what you also got on the bun is a little mustard, a little relish, a little tomato, a little bit of onion. A lot of people they probably ate the hot dogs for years. So that's the thing in Chicago. You get a Chicago style bun, that's what you put on there. Then you put the dog on, and then you got the French fries, the paper's tucked in, and there you go. A Chicago style dog. But in other places, you put ketchup and other toppings on it. You sell hot dogs in a hot dog stand, you got all kinds of toppings. You got chili cheese. You got a lot of topping things. But if you were to ask people, like, what kind of toppings do you put on your hot dog, they'd tell you like ketchup and mustard. That's how it would be. Or one person I asked hers was chili and cheese. Mine is too. Probably asking a lot of people, and they would tell you basically the same thing. Like if you were to ask, what's your favorite topping on a hot dog? It would be ketchup and mustard, probably some relish. So, probably a great thing to end on. So, bottom line is, know your toppings on a hot dog. All right, when we return, something sweet to top off our treat. Don't go away. Whether it's from fast food, whether it's from a buffet, whether it's the best pie that your mom made, your grandma made, apple pie is one of the best American treats ever, topped with baseball and hot dogs to be exact. But how do you ever wonder if it's the best pie ever? Well, if you were to go to bakeries all around town, they would tell you that the best apple pie ever is probably from your local bakery, or probably from the bakery where your parents worked. So let's take a look at the few of the favorites. I mean, best one, you probably from HB. You probably got like the best apple pie, but you could probably make your own pie. Just simple crust, filling, bake it in the oven, and you got your pie. That's how it is with these people. I mean, you don't even know what type of apple pie you like, do you? Of course not. You have to just judge it for yourself as a food expert. As an expert, you have to just judge the food by taste. And if you probably don't judge the food by taste, I don't know what the issue's gonna have here. It's just as simple as trying to figure out what the Toyota truck is probably the best thing as a Toyota van. That's how it is. So, on top of that, my favorite apple pie has to be coming from Golden Corral. Best pie ever. Best kind of apple pie that someone's grandma would make. Probably someone's mom. But even those rectangular pies, like those little fruit pies, so great note to end on. So a lot of great things happen. going to take a break. I'll be back with a final thought and a preview of our next half hour. So give me a break. So don't go away. First of all, I want to thank the Lady Hornets for a great game. And basically a great 5 years to celebrate on. So thank you for that. You know, public school is a great place to go to. But when it comes to that, it's how much money people spend. We spend over a lot of money. In the case that we saw from Lee Summit School District, it's basically a superintendent got to raise over like over 5 times that much. So what you left with is every dollar of that $100,000 is not spent towards the children. It's basically spent towards to how all you look at it. So it's basically a 50-50 chance here. But covering it up by having a relationship with a school district attorney and having a school president support that, I'm glad she stepped down. It was a very important message for all people to step down. The process is paid for this whole entire school board. I mean, this person is placed on administrative leave. But the great news is he resigned after all these issues. So a great note to end on. So yeah, that's probably a great note to end on. I want to apologize to you guys for not giving you guys a Give Me Break money because I passed out last night. I wasn't going to do it when I woke up, and then I decided to go back to sleep. You need that rest, the best rest ever, because this month is Lent month. Every Friday during Lent, you get some fish. That's how it was every Friday. So I gotta make sure I'm all caught up on my fish. So that won't. So that's probably great to head on. So coming up on the second half of Give Me a Break, the latest from Oxford. This time, more from the trial and why James and Jennifer Crumley are charged with involuntary manslaughter. If Ethan Crumley is convicted, he can face life in prison. So why is there a lot of lawsuits happening to the school when the school says they did not do anything? Now remember, they violated the Child Protection Act, especially the parents. So a lot of people are charged with this. You got the superintendent, you got the dean of students, those counselors, the 3 identified teachers, James, Jennifer, and Ethan. There's a lot of cooks in this kitchen, and so we have to make sure school shootings happen again. So what can we do as a community to make sure this doesn't happen again? I'll tell you about that in our second half of the show. So great job, Lady Hornets, on great softball game, and Hornet boards are still happening, and hopefully it'll be probably a great win. That's all for this edition of this first half of Give Me a Break Tuesday. I'll see you again soon for the second half of the show covering the trial. So thank you all, thank the Lady Hornets for this great opportunity, the Boy Hornet for the baseball, and great 5 years of doing this from outside, very first time. So I hope that really helps out. Thank God to everyone. Until next time, America.